What's going on, guys? It's Danny from Fantasy Stock Exchange here, bringing you another mock draft video. So this is actually going to be released on Sunday. As you guys are seeing this is actually a day after our Discord League draft. For our listeners, again, we're going to be doing a breakdown video of those rosters, so stay tuned for that this upcoming week. But yeah, as I mentioned, we're going to actually be hitting up a mock draft on Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard for today's video. As I mentioned, though, it's going to be a 12-team, full PPR, one quarterback style mock draft for today. Basically, as you guys can see, I'm drafting against pre-draft rankings of all these Fable sites, composite ADP, all the experts. So you guys can kind of have a hint of how your guys' actual league drafts will go, because I got a mixture of everything in there. Not to mention, we're actually going to be randomizing the pick selection 5 times. Whatever I get is going to be my selection. If you guys have any future episodes you want to see me pick from a slot, pick from certain scoring settings, pick from certain roster settings, anything you guys want to see in a mock draft, feel free to comment down below, because I will definitely attack that for you guys, so you guys can kind of have a feel for how your teams may be constructed depending on where your pick is. So as I mentioned, I'm going to randomize this selection 5 times. Whatever I get on that 5th is going to be my pick for this video. So we'll see what happens. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatever goes here is going to be where I'm picking from. So 5. So I'm picking from the 10th overall selection. So we'll see what happens here. But as you see, positional values probably going to be higher in a league draft of yours, because everybody's going RB early this year. But for the purpose of the video, we're going to keep it on normal. But if we see a huge receiver run or anything like that, it's most likely credited to the fact that running backs aren't as valued on the platform as they are in your draft. And you know what? Actually, now that I say that, I'm actually just going to make the RB value high, just to kind of give it a more realistic feel for your guys' drafts, because we don't want great running back values to fall in the 10th round and you guys go with the mindset, oh, this guy's going to be available in the 10th round, and he ends up going in like the 7th. No, we'll try to keep it as realistic as possible for you guys. So we're going to start this draft picking from the 10th slot, as you guys saw. So we'll give you the draft board view once this is figured out. So yeah, as you guys see, recapping the first round so far, we do see Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Julio Jones at 4. I mean, they're throwing curveballs, I guess. I don't know, but Michael Thomas, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Nick Chubb, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire actually getting sniped from me there. That hurts, but you know what? At this current point, I'm actually going to go with Derrick Henry. I mean, at this, because the reason why I'm doing this, because I do think Austin Eckler could fall to me in the second. I don't think he will, actually, to be honest, looking at these rankings now. Austin Eckler is my RB6 in full PPR. Derrick Henry is my RB7 in full PPR. Now, I think it's more likely that Eckler would fall back to me. But at the same time, considering that he is actually ranked up higher here, I assume he's going to go in those 4-pick span. And realistically, if I get Eckler and say Henry gets taken, I'm still able to get like a Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Aaron Jones, someone like that. I'm still fine with doing that. Or even, let me see the receivers. Like if Devontae Adams fell to me, that's game over. But I'm gonna go with Austin Eckler. You guys know this by now. Myself and Bush do believe that he is a first-round caliber player, and people that are fading him, plain and simple, just don't know what they're doing. Because let's be honest, you guys can watch any single video on our channel, especially the My Guys video that we recorded a few days ago. You guys can check that out on the channel. But we've broken down Austin Eckler multiple times on this channel, especially in a full PPR. I mean, this guy is going to see 100 targets in that system, plain and simple. Even if that fell down to 90, he is still, with the rushing volume that he's going to be adding, a top 10 back. So lock him in. Austin Eckler, love the pick. And after we go with Austin Eckler, we do see Henry, Mixon, Lamar, and Drake all go off the board. Now, this is an interesting spot, right? You got Miles Sanders, you got Josh Jacobs, and you got Aaron Jones. I love all those backs. Don't get me wrong. But my wide receiver 1 is still here, and I don't think I can pass the value up on him. As you guys have seen on the channel multiple times, I have regarded Davante Adams as my wide receiver 1 in all formats for this year, simply because I do think his target share is going to be on par with a guy like Michael Thomas. Again, 30% of his team's total targets. He should be creeping in that 160, 170 possibly 180 with how the Green Bay Packers receiving core is looking this year, combined with if he plays 16 games, he is an absolute lock for 10 plus touchdowns. So I think the upside you're getting with Davante Adams is way too high to pass him up in the second round here. Now, I love all those backs. Don't get me wrong. I think they are fine selections at the 203, but if you didn't want me to take Davante Adams, you would have taken him on the turn instead of taking Lamar. So I will definitely take my wide receiver 1 on the season and be happy. Again, if you guys want to check out the wide receiver rankings video, he is myself and Bush's consensus wide receiver 1. Both have him at 1. We are all in on Davante Adams. So lock him up. Second round selection. I am feeling super good with this team right now. Eckler and Adams is a dream start. So we'll definitely see what happens as we see a ton of receivers go off the board, all including my boy DJ Moore. I was really hoping DJ Moore actually fell back to me, as mentioned. But looking at the board here, again, no running backs I really love here. Wide receivers, I still like a lot of these guys. I still like Juju, Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, DJ Chark, Terry McLaurin. But they're all kind of a similar tier to me. Could go with one of the tight ends. I would prefer getting Waller in like the 6th round than getting Andrews or Ertz in the 3rd, 4th. But I'm looking at one value here, and it's a guy I don't normally take. But if he's going to fall to the end of the 3rd round, I do think that's appropriate value on a guy like Patrick Mahomes. The end of the 3rd round for that guy, plain and simple, is just incredible. I mean, you see Lamar Jackson going at the 201. This is a guy who usually goes in the 2nd round. Now, I am not an advocate for taking a quarterback early, plain and simple. But if you're getting a guy like Patrick Mahomes at the end of the 3rd round, the value there, you start Eckler, Adams, you get Patrick Mahomes, and you still have the 403 to take another wide receiver at that turn is ultimately going to give you a ton of value. I don't like, again, I'm one of those guys. I don't like any of the running backs realistically. I could take JT on the turn if he falls. But other than that, I mean, the running back value to me, I like any of these guys as well, especially in a full PPR. I can still get DeAndre Swift. I don't mind Singletary, Akers, White, Ronald Jones, Tariq Cohen. These guys aren't that much separated from these guys. Like, I don't like Le'Veon Bell. I do like Melvin Gordon. So if he does fall, I consider him as well. Hate David Johnson. You guys will see that on Tuesday's video as well. All in all, I keep talking, but the pick is actually going to be Patrick Mahomes given the value left on the board. So lock him up, 3-10. As I go with Patrick Mahomes, we do see Juju, Melvin Gordon, Amari Cooper, and Calvin Ridley all go off the board. So as I mentioned, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's intriguing. Now, if he was my RB3, I would definitely do it. But at my RB2, I don't know if he's going to get the touches right away. See, 403 is actually good value on him. You know what? Let me just see the receivers. So realistically, I'm still fine with Kupp, Brown, Chark, McLaurin. One of those guys to fall to me at value. At that point, even Gallup, Edelman, full PPR, Marquise Brown, there's a ton of guys I still like here to get as my wide receiver 2. And especially, I have Davante Adams. I can figure out the wide receiver 2 on my team and figure that out pretty easily. I'm just going to take the upside that I'm getting with Jonathan Taylor and be perfectly fine with that selection in the 4th round. Now, you're taking Jonathan Taylor. The risk that you have with him is he may not be the workhorse right off the bat. He's not going to get 18, 20, 22 touches starting week 1. But I do think by week 3, week 4, we could see him develop into that type of role. Now, the biggest situation that I always compare it to is with Nick Chubb in 2018. We saw an incumbent starter in Carlos Hyde, similar to Marlon Mack, to start the season. A talented 2nd-round rookie running back chilling behind him, Nick Chubb to Jonathan Taylor. Now, oddly enough, Nick Chubb was my pre-draft comparison for Jonathan Taylor. A slightly faster version of Nick Chubb, in my opinion, 4.39 versus 4.52. But in terms of running style, in terms of overall purity as a between-the-tackles runner, I love Jonathan Taylor. I think he's a fantastic talent. And we saw in 2018 what happened with Nick Chubb. He didn't really get much work into week 7, week 8. But once he got the job, he was a solidified top 20 running back down the stretch, 18, 20, 22 attempts per game. I mean, he was absolutely carrying your fantasy team at that point in the season. If you're looking at Jonathan Taylor, I think he can do something similar to that, except get the reins a little bit earlier, in my opinion. I do think he could get the reins by week 4, maybe. Like, I mean, once the Colts see this guy running in space, I mean, he's an absolute beast and has 4.39 attached to that. I mean, I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor in the 4th round and feel happy about it. Now, you guys know I also love DeAndre Swift. If I'm able to get DeAndre Swift as well, I will take him as well, like easily. So if he falls to the 5'10", 603, again, this is all based on value. I do have DeAndre Swift a little bit higher in my rankings. But as you guys see, I mean, the value here, plain and simple, just dictates taking Jonathan Taylor because I might be able to pair both. If I take Swift now, Taylor won't fall to me. If I take Taylor now, Swift may fall to me. So ultimately, I'm going to do that and feel comfortable with that selection. So as we go Jonathan Taylor, we do see I'll recap the picks after it gets back to us. But yeah, so after I go with Jonathan Taylor, we do see Odell Beckham, Mark Andrews, A.J. Brown, Zach Ertz, Le'Veon Bell, yuck. Tyler Lockett, David Johnson, yuck. Cooper Kupp, Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Parker, Terry McLaurin, Kareem Hunt, Devin Singletary, DK Metcalf, DJ Chark, T.Y. Hilton, and Mark Ingram all go off the board. So looking at the wide receivers, let me just take a glimpse. So I could get a guy like Gallup, Edelman, Brown, Diggs, Boyd, like all those guys. But as I mentioned, I still really like DeAndre Swift here. So I'm going to take Swift. Just plain simple, I think the upside in the PPR formats for him and Taylor would Eckler, would ultimately be too hard to pass up. Again, I'm recording this. He's had some leg injuries in camp. I fully understand that. That's why I didn't really take him at the 403. But if he's going to fall to the end of the 5th round, plain and simple, this is a guy I still have as my RB17. I do think that the leg injury, it's concerning because obviously I want to see talented players avoiding those type of injuries in training camp. But I do think he's on track to return for week 1. Or at the minimum, maybe he misses week 1 and returns for week 2. I do think he's going to be healthy again. He's going to be 3 weeks removed off the injury going into week 1. So if you give him a month to recover, I do think he's going to be fine. Now, I know you don't want to take injured players, and that's fine. I fully understand the risk involved with doing that. But with a guy like DeAndre Swift, who, in my opinion, was pre-draft the RB1 for me on my board, or RB2 actually. JT was RB1, but was the RB2 for me on my board, a top 35 selection. I'm not a believer in Kerryon Johnson. I do think DeAndre Swift is going to earn an Alvin Kamara type light role on that Detroit Lions offense. Broke down the numbers for him in the past, but you guys can check out the rankings video just to kind of see the splits of Stafford in targeting his running backs over 8 of the last 9 years when he's been fully healthy on the Detroit Lions. But either way, I do like DeAndre Swift here. The value on him is tremendous. Again, I've been warming up to guys like Cam Akers. You guys know I'm really good on Ronald Jones. I think he's also a fine selection here. This pick would come down to Ronald Jones versus DeAndre Swift. I have Swift slightly ahead, so I'm going to go with my guy in DeAndre Swift. But Ronald Jones is also another extremely fine selection here. So I'm going to take DeAndre Swift and not think twice about it. So get him. Yeah, okay, 95%. I don't care. As we do see Gallup, Diggs, Boyd, and Brown all go off the board here. Now, again, in a full PPR, I do kind of have my hands tied here. I really want to get a receiver, and a receiver I see right now that really helps me out is a guy like Julian Edelman. Again, I have mentioned it in the past. The people that are fading Julian Edelman just don't like consistent production, plain and simple. If this guy is playing 16 games, he's the one guy that Cam Newton's actually going to be able to rely on. And in a full PPR, I mean, he's going to near that 100-catch plateau. He's going to hit 1,100-plus yards. And maybe he has a little bit of a sneaky touchdown upside with Cam Newton. But overall, I really like Julian Edelman this year. He's a clear top 27, top 28 wide receiver for me in full PPR. And I think that's even low on him, to be quite honest, because I think he's most likely going to finish in the top 20. He's going to give you safe wide receiver 2 production week in, week out. I'm going to snag Julian Edelman and feel happy with that selection. So another consideration would have been Ronald Jones there as well. But if he somehow falls to me, I'll take him. As we're seeing a ton of receivers go off the board. And wow, as I mentioned, Ronald Jones fell to me. That is superb. Ronald Jones and James White both here, but as I've mentioned multiple times, I do love James White as well. But if Ronald Jones is going to fall to the end of the 7th round, that is just ludicrous. Plain and simple. I'm going to snag Ronald Jones here and feel comfortable with that selection. Yeah, there's no way he would have fallen to me, by the way, if you're reading that on the side. Even though I set the RB value too high, I mean, we're still seeing a ton of wide receivers go off the board. Again, as I mentioned, you're not going to get a lot of these RB values in your own personal league drafts. So keep that in mind when you're watching the video. I know the Fantasy Pros algorithm isn't really on par because we should see some receivers like even a Christian Kirk falling here. Again, it's only 2 start wide receivers, so I don't know why they're valuing the wide receivers so much more than usual. But I still see guys that I like. Anthony Miller, Golden Tate's not bad. Jalen Reagor, Jerry Jeudy. All these guys kind of similar for me, in my opinion. I mean, the RB value, if it's just going to fall to me like this, I'm going to take it, plain and simple. I'm going to snag James White here in the 8th round of a full PPR. This is a guy who has basically been a top 25 PPR back in each of the last 3 years, and yet is still getting the disrespect. Snag him up. I mean, plain and simple. If he's going to fall to you at that type of value, that's a steal. Sorry. Just a little sneeze. No, I don't have COVID. Sorry, that was a bad joke. But as we do see on the board here, I don't mind taking a guy like Golden Tate in a full PPR as my wide receiver 3. I mean, you would prefer him as your 4, but getting him as a wide receiver 3 here in the 9th round, I think is pretty decent. And maybe I can stack him with a let me check tight end real quick. Yeah, okay. No, going Hayden Hurst. Had to check that because I saw Higbee go off the board. I'm like, wait, did Hayden Hurst go? No. If Hayden Hurst, my guy at the tight end position, is going to fall to you at the 9th round of your draft, you take that value and run any given chance. So let me lock him up. I am perfectly fine with taking him there. Yeah, okay, he may have been available. I'm not taking that risk for a guy I have as the tight end 6 overall in my ranking. So, and as I mentioned, I'm going to take Golden Tate here. I do think he's the most safe wide receiver left on the board for me for wide receiver 3 immediate production. So I will take him there and feel fine with that. If I have to flex him a week, either way, I think he's going to be a good selection, especially in that 10th round area. So after that, we do see starting the trend of the next tier of running backs in Coleman, Moss, Gibson, Duke, Henderson, Pollard, and Peterson, as we also see the receivers in Anthony Miller, McCole Hardman, Justin Jefferson, Jerry Jeudy, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel, Michael Pittman, and Deshaun Jackson. I'll go off the board with Rob Gronkowski following them close after. I did want a guy like Pittman to fall to me or Deshaun Jackson, but they both went. So that's kind of unfortunate. Looking at the receivers here, I do kind of see a similar tier. I can just get a guy like Steven Sims Jr., Laviska Shenault, one of those guys I feel comfortable with my team later on. But if Boston Scott and Chase Edmonds are going to fall to me, I'm just going to take both of them, plain and simple. Again, like the value on this, like you got to fix the RB algorithm, Fantasy Pros, if you're watching this right now, because I'm going to take these guys in this area in a full PPR any given day of the week. As did we just see Edmonds go? Oh, that's unfortunate. I want to pair both of them, but either way, I mean, I could take a guy like Jonnu Smith next round. Again, this is another guy who I think is going to be going off the board higher if you're actually doing realistic mock drafts, especially after watching our videos. This is a steal, plain and simple. This is a top 9 tight end, but given that he's so far low in the rankings, again, you guys want to adapt to your league settings and your league cheat sheets because plain and simple, if you're doing an online draft and you know you're in your home league, there's a ton of guys who may not do the most research. They're most likely going off the ADP list for your preferred platform. So when you're doing your drafts, just keep that in mind. Draft off your value, draft off of your informed opinions value. But at the same time, keep in mind, if you got a guy that you really love in round 4 that's projected to go in round 7, take as much value as you can. Even if you have to take him in round 5, you know he's going to make it back to you, you could take the chance, plain and simple, because a lot of guys are just going to be looking at the top names on their list, plain and simple. So keep that in mind when you're drafting. As I'm looking at the list right now, I could go, as I mentioned, I do like a Jonnu Smith as well, but running back value, I do like Damien Harris, but I mean, I have 6 running backs. I kind of want to get a receiver here, but we'll just see the value. I don't mind Lazard, but I do have Devontae Adams, so I wouldn't take him. Not a fan of Watkins, Fitz, Cobb. I do like Visca a whole heck of a lot right here. You know what? Let me just take Jonnu and lock that up. There's a ton of receivers that I like. And a guy like Jonnu, plain and simple, like I don't want to take the chance that he doesn't fall to me. Pairing him and Hayden Hurst is giving you plenty of upside at your tight end position because one of them, in my opinion, is a lock to break out. So like that pick, as we do see a whole run on running back. So one of my receivers did fall to me. So I'm going to snag. We'll go Visca Shenault first. And is there any quarterbacks? I do like Cam Newton. I have Patrick Mahomes, but I do like Cam Newton as well. Plain and simple. I mean, fuck it. I'm gonna go Cam Newton, plain and simple. This is the last round. All day. All day. Let's do that. Let's lock that up. And I'll give you guys a quick rundown of the team before we head out of here. But again, if you guys have made it this far in the video, make sure you go comment down below what are your thoughts on the team. Like that video. You see it on the right-hand side. And don't forget to subscribe because 85% of our viewers in the past 2 weeks, I believe was the time frame, or month or so, are actually not subscribed. Again, if you're watching these videos and you are constantly enjoying the content that is put out, make sure you just hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to myself and Corey in trying to grow this channel. Again, we want to get the best information out possible to as many people as possible. Again, we're nearing in on 400 subscribers as you're watching this. Appreciate all of you. We started up this year. Can't believe that we've grown so far, but appreciate all of you that have stuck around with us for the long haul. And again, as I mentioned, the draft guide is available. I was talking about the Discord League, Listeners League. Those are draft guide members of the all-in package that we have available. Again, the draft guide, $5. The all-in package, $15. The difference being the draft guide gives you access to our rankings, team previews, Lucas's statistical projections. Everything on there is available for you guys. The all-in package, however, gives yourself or yourself, one of myself or Corey, as your personal team consultant to help you win your championship. So every single week, you guys will see the package on our website, thefantasystockexchange.com, linked in the description. But basically, we'll hop on a call with you guys every week, talk about trade targets, help you set your lineup. Any type of advice you are looking for, we are here for you guys, and we want to see you guys have the success for your 2020 fantasy football season. But anyways, had to plug the draft guide real quick. As I said, I'm going to go over my team rosters construction, kind of give you guys a glimpse of what happened with that 10th overall selection. So the 10th overall selection, the overall team ended up being Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. I mean, him and Lamar, top two, easy. Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, tons of upside there. Devontae Adams, Julian Edelman, Hayden Hurst, DeAndre Swift, James White as my starting lineup. I really like that. And then Ronald Jones on the bench here, while Jonathan Taylor, again, as I mentioned, maybe starting to get situated week 3, week 4. I do think I could plug in Ronald Jones for the first couple weeks and feel comfortable with that. So I like that pick. Golden Tate, Cam Newton, Jonnu Smith, Boston Scott, and Laviska Shenault rounding out my roster. So again, appreciate all of you guys for making it this far in the video. Again, this week is going to be jam-packed with a ton of quality content, as always. But this is Danny taking on this mock draft solo for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Peace out, y'all.